Okay, so completing the square. Here's our steps. So given ax squared plus bx, step 1 is to divide b, just b, by 2. Step 2 is to square the answer. Add it to the end. And then factor, and I'm going to put the little x there. And then write in this squared form. I'm pretty sure that's not what was in my original PowerPoint, but it gives you basically what the steps are. And we actually talked about this previously when we were doing this with the tiles. So I actually think we did this problem when we did it with the tiles, which is okay. So the first thing we're going to do is take b, which is this number right here, 6, and we're going to divide it by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that's our first step. Our second step is to square it. So I'm going to take it and do 3 squared, which is 9. So I could write step 1, step 2. Step 3 says to add it to the end. So that means I'm going to write what I already had, x squared plus 6x, and then I'm going to have plus 9 on the end. Step 4 is to factor. So we're going to factor. We're looking for numbers that multiply to make 9, that add to make 6, which is 3 and 3. So it'd be x plus 3, x plus 3. And so our last step is just to write it as x plus 3 squared. And this number that we get here comes from the first step. So people are always like, why do we do all of these steps? And it has to do with this is a process we're going to use in bigger problems. There'll be two sides of the equation. There's things going on. But we just go through the steps because we're going to need them. All right, so let's go to the next one. So we have x squared minus 10x. So I'm going to take negative 10 and divide by 2, which is negative 5. And then I'm going to square it. If you're squaring this on your calculator, you need to have parentheses. That way it'll come out positive. If you leave the parentheses off, it'll tell you it's negative 25. So you have to really be careful how that gets typed in if you're using the calculator with negatives. And then step 3, we're just going to add this on the end. So x squared minus 10x plus 25. So this is called a perfect square trinomial. When we go to factor it, these numbers are going to be the same because we've designed them to be. So multiplies to make 25, adds to make negative 10. It's going to be negative 5 and negative 5. So that's x minus 5, x minus 5. And if you wanted to, you could skip down to just x minus 5 squared. All right, so the last one is a little tricky because 7 doesn't divide evenly. So I'm going to take this number 7 and divide by 2. I'm going to get 3.5 or 3.5. And then when I square that, I don't remember what that is, so 1 second, please. 3.5 squared. So good, 12.25. I was getting there. It's just taking me a second. All right, and so we're going to tack that onto the end. So normally we don't factor when you have decimals. But because of this process, we know that 3.5 times 3.5 is 12.25. And we also know that if I add them together, I get 7. So it's going to be 3.5 and 3.5, which is coming from this part up here. And so we'll get x plus 3.5, x plus 3.5.
Do you have to do that?
You could skip that and just do step 5 if you want to, and just do this. But we do need to know what this number is, because if there's another side of the equation, we would have to add this number to both sides. Okay, that was a fast lesson.